To win my husband's favor, I secretly drugged 8 of my closest friends and locked them in our bedroom. After that night of debauchery, he clung to me as if I were his entire world, boasting to everyone he knew. People fawned over him, showering him with admiration, everyone except his best friend, who only furrowed his brow. "They're all demon cats," he muttered, "feeding on your life force. When she brings you the 8th one, you won't have much time left to live." I merely arched an eyebrow, saying nothing, a cold laugh echoing inside me. How bold of him, to spit out a truth so ugly. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Hecate Audio for more great stories every day. After drugging my friends and sending them into the bedroom, I immediately returned to the living room, dropped to my knees, and obediently lit a cigarette for my husband, who was still engrossed in his card game. Lu Duang, sitting beside Trong Hua, swallowed hard with envy. "Brother Trong, you're incredible. Having a wife this beautiful and rich isn't enough. And she still does whatever you say." I let out a hoarse meow, trembling as I raised a paw to shield my eyes from the horror before me. The old apartment complex had no security cameras. That searched every corner for me but found nothing. I thought I would die there, tortured to death in that dark place where sunlight never reached. But she didn't give up. She went door to door, knocking, calling my name. When she finally heard my faint, broken meow from behind a door, she burst inside without hesitation. She tried to grab me and run, but Trong Hoa's fist came crashing down. And she fell hard to the floor, kneeling there, tears streaming down her face. She begged him for mercy, yet her helplessness only stirred the beast inside him. He lunged at her. Ignoring the pain in my injured leg, I clawed his face with all my strength, but he only laughed, gripping me by the neck and hurling me against the wall. Pain exploded through my body. Each time I cried out, blood filled my throat and spilled from my mouth. Still, I couldn't stop. Meow, meow. Run, that. Don't worry about me. I was just a filthy stray she had rescued from a trash bin. She never minded the dirt. She washed me with warm water, worked overtime to pay for my vet visits, and turned me from a skinny, scruffy thing into a plump, glossy cat. I could die here, but she couldn't. Her life had only just begun. Her parents were waiting for her at home, and she was supposed to get engaged this autumn. She had a bright future ahead. She couldn't lose it all because of me. But in the end, that still fell unconscious under his abuse. The man washed her body roughly with a basin of water. Then, under the cover of night, called Li Trak and Lu Duang. Together, they carried both her and my body to the rooftop, and threw us off. There were few residents here, no cameras, and he didn't even live in this building. He just used the abandoned apartments as his playground for torturing cats. The police later ruled it an accident, that had fallen while searching for her lost pet. At the crematorium, her parents sobbed soundlessly. Their warm, simple family was shattered beyond repair. Those kind souls buried my ashes together with hers in the same grave. But I couldn't rest. Why do the kind and gentle always die, stripped of their dignity, while monsters walk free, living well? My resentment festered until it became form. I was reborn as a cat demon, shaped in human guise. I sought out Trong Hua, the security guard, and pretended to fall in love. I married him, told him I wanted to wake up to his face every day, just so I could watch him die slowly, piece by piece. Facing Li Trak now, he grabbed Trong Hoa's arm in fear. Trong Hua, my ancestors were geomancers. I don't make mistakes. Think about it. Why would a rich woman marry you and drag you to live up here in the mountains? Don't you see? The place is surrounded by honeysuckle and paperbark trees, plants cats adore. The moon is full tonight. Her demonic energy will peak. There will be blood before dawn. I bowed my head, my tone soft and sweet. Husband, of course our mansion sits on a mountain. What's luxury without a view? And you know very well why we moved here, don't you? We had been married less than a month when he took my money to chase other women. When I caught him, he sneered, "Wildflowers smell better than the ones at home. Spending your money on them should be your blessing. Don't cry. A man's woman should be generous." He was wrong. I wasn't covering my face to cry. I was laughing. Everything was unfolding exactly as I planned. People say cats have 9 lives. That's not true. A cat has only one life, but 9 souls. When a cat dies, the deepest grudge becomes a demon, taking human form, while the other 8 souls wander the mountains. If those 8 fail to drain the enemy's life force within 3 months, they fade, and I vanish with them. So I did what he always preached. I became a generous woman. I turned those 8 souls into human form, called them my closest friends, and invited them one by one to the manor. The first one barely crossed the threshold before Trong Hoa's lust took over. He violated her. From then on, I kept playing the devoted wife, inviting each friend over, drugging them, and locking them in the bedroom. Trong Hoa, fearing they'd scream and draw the police, was the one who insisted we move up the mountain. No one will hear them here, he said, to be safe. He even installed cameras in the bedroom, threatening that if any of them dared go to the cops, he'd leak the footage online. Let's see which of them could still marry rich then. Trong Hoa took a long drag and exhaled with a smirk. She grew up pampered, never lifting a finger. After we married, I stopped indulging her, cooking, cleaning, scrubbing floors. She does it all. What use is a woman who can't work or please her man? I only bowed my head in silence, feigning agreement. My parents had died, leaving me a fortune worth hundreds of millions. And yet I'd married Trong Hoa, a lowly security guard. Since then I'd served him without complaint, smiling even as he struck and cursed me. After all, the malice in a cruel man's life force is the finest nourishment for a cat demon. Amid the cheers and flattery around the card table, Trong Hoa grew more smug, his eyes flicking unconsciously toward the bedroom. She's not only obedient, she even brought her friends to please me. They're all fragile little heiresses. When I'm done, you boys can take your turn. Lu Duang's eyes gleamed. The room filled with boisterous laughter, everyone except Li Trak, who furrowed his brow and spoke in a low voice. Your wife is a cat demon. Trong Hoa froze, then burst out laughing. You're right, she's a cat. All right, soft and flexible like she has no bones. He yanked my hair, his other hand pawing at me as the men roared with laughter. Li Trak ignored the jeers, his voice grim. A cat demon feeds on life force to keep her form. Trong Hoa, think carefully. Doesn't she always offer you a glass of wine after you're with her? You drink, feel light as air, black out, and wake up at dawn? Trong Hoa's hand stilled. How do you know? That's not wine, Li Trak said coldly. It's soul-melting water. It hooks you, makes you crave her day and night, while she drains you dry. A cat has 9 souls. The 8 women she's brought you are the other 8 souls. When she delivers the 8th friend, and counts herself as the 9th, that's when she'll finish you. Your blood will pour from every orifice as you die. Trong Hoa's gaze flicked to me, panic flashing in his eyes. Every time I drink it, I feel euphoric. Once I didn't, and it felt like ants crawling under my skin. Could you really be a cat demon? Cats fear citrus, Li Trak hissed. Give her lemon water, she'll show her true form. Trong Hoa shoved a glass of lemon water at me, forcing it between my lips. A searing burn spread through my mouth. I dropped to my knees, face contorting. Minutes later, I steadied myself, opened a health tips ebook on my phone. Tears brimming. Husband, it's just lemon juice, so sour. The wine I cook for you has ginseng and deer velvet to nourish you. I'd never harm you. Relieved, Trong Hoa clapped Li Trak's shoulder. See, Trak, you've watched too many horror flicks. She drank the lemon and didn't turn into a cat. She's just a beautiful woman. But Li Trak shoved him aside, his eyes boring into me. No, that can't be. I see it now. She's not a cat who cultivated. She's the grudge of dead cats condensed into a demon. She, is it? I feigned fear, trembling as I hid behind Trong Hoa and Lu Duang, the corner of my lips curling into a ghostly smile. So this man had some skill after all. I had hidden my aura, shaped myself into a human form, and yet he still recognized me as the cat they had once tortured to death. 3 years ago, my mistress that had taken me to the park for some sun. Trong Hoa sat on a bench pretending to be blind, stroking my head, calling me cute, whining about the hardships of blindness, asking that to buy him a drink. His false kindness made her drop her guard. The moment she turned away, he snatched me up and ran. I realized he wasn't blind and screamed in terror. clawing wildly, but his hand clamped over my mouth and his fingers closed around my throat. I couldn't breathe, couldn't cry out. He took me to a dark room and shoved me into a rusted cage. Inside were many other cats, legs twisted, skins flayed, thrown into microwaves one by one. I called for a technician at once to install cameras. After all, those eyes would be useful to me. I glanced toward the bedroom, then leaned in and teased softly. Husband, the sedative's wearing off. Lee Trak was about to speak when Trong Hua cut him off. Annoyed, all right, stop with the mysticism. We believe in materialism. If there were ghosts, they'd have already skinned me alive. He shot a look at Lu Duang, who caught the hint immediately. Sorry, he's had a bit too much tonight. I'll take him to the parlor to rest. Since I married Trong Hua 3 months ago, Lu Duang had been a frequent guest at our table, always flattering him until Trong Hua's vanity swelled. And on more than one occasion Trong Hua rewarded him handsomely. Seeing Lee Trak led away, Trong Hua couldn't help himself and darted into the bedroom. As he went in, I slipped to the kitchen, fetched the bowl of cat broth I'd hidden, and ate with quiet satisfaction. Even as a demon born of grudges, I am still a cat. I love my reward soup and I fear citrus. The lemon earlier hadn't exposed me, but it had weakened my demonic chi. I needed to replenish it fast. I was savoring the rich, warm broth when a sudden, searing pain flared behind me. Cat demon, show your true shape. I spun round to find Lee Trak had somehow crept behind the pantry and plastered a talisman to my back. Agony tore through me. I crumpled to the floor as my body convulsed. Skin tearing, fur sprouting, Lee Trak crouched and watched my struggle with a sneer. I knew it. I was never wrong. Admit defeat. You died by our hands 3 years ago. Tonight your end will be the same. Beasts will always be beasts. How can they compete with humans? I smirked inwardly. Tonight he offered himself to me willingly. Don't blame me if he becomes the first I feast on. But I would not kill outright. Cats toy with their prey before the kill. That delicious cruelty is a pleasure. I dragged myself to the kitchen doorway and screamed. Help! Help! Trong Hua and Lu Duang came running. And at the sight of me disheveled and terrified they tumbled into the room. Lee Trak clutched my arm. 2 people shut in a room crying for help. No one needed to spell out what had happened. I clung to Trong Hua's leg, sobbing without sound. He says a poor man like you isn't worthy of me. Told me to leave you for him. Threatened to expose me as a cat demon and torture me if I didn't obey. He even bragged that he's always first to taste what's good. Then you get whatever's left? Trong Hua's eyes went bloodshot. He lunged and punched Lee Trak. Enough. Why are you prattling about spirits at night? You were lying in wait here. Lee Trak staggered and fell face first, pointing wildly. Look at her hands. Fur is growing. She's the cat demon, while her chi is still weak. We must kill her. But his words died on his lips as his own eyes betrayed him. How can this be? He wailed. I feigned innocence, hiding my face and weeping, while the corner of my eye curled into a smile. My skin was smooth and hairless, no fur at all. Lee Trak trembled, howling. It's not working, the talisman fails. Trong Hua, I couldn't have been wrong. Of course the talisman had no effect. The woman in the bedroom moments ago was the final soul of the cat demon. She had absorbed the life force and returned to the true form. Now I was whole, a completed demon who could wear a human face at will. Lee Trak hauled himself up along the wall, voice trembling with stubbornness. Think about it, if she wasn't a demon. Why would a wealthy heiress love you? That one sentence was enough to enrage Trong Hua. Veins bulged on his neck as he struck Lee Trak. Who the hell are you? Get out of my house. Lu Duang slipped between them, pleading. We're all brothers here. Brother Trong, let him stay till morning. There's a storm. And the mountain roads aren't safe. Besides, there may be wild beasts up here. Trak apologized to Brother Trong. Lee Trak shoved him aside, scoffing. She is the cat demon. Wait till midnight under the full moon. She'll take all our lives. I tried to save you and you didn't believe me. I'm leaving. Maybe I'll survive. You lot might not. Trong Hua spat after his retreating back. Good riddance. Thought you were something special. Useless. He licked his lips, unquenched, and turned back toward the bedroom. I wiped a silent tear from my eye. He was wrong. When Lee Trak left tonight, he wouldn't walk away alive either. 3 years ago, Lee Trak cooked up a get-rich scheme for Trong Hua, film the abuse of strays and sell the footage. In reality, every clip funneled straight into his hands. Night after night he slipped away to some deserted place, smiling to himself as he replayed those brutal scenes until he felt a perverse pleasure. When Trong Hua had rounded up all the strays, Lee Trak shifted his hunger to owned cats, that became his first prize. Before she died, he even sneaked into the abandoned building and filmed her naked like the voyeur he was. After her death he still wasn't satisfied, he staged himself at the funeral. Watched her parents choke on their grief beside the coffin, and felt something in him contort into pure malice. Why did my parents divorce and never come to see me, while her parents love her so much, he muttered. And then he snapped. He plastered those nude photos all over the housing gate. Rumors spread like wildfire. That's mother screamed and begged for her daughter's reputation, while her father's hair turned white overnight. He didn't stop there, he hired thugs to smash the little fruit stall the couple ran. In the scuffle, that's father was struck down, his back broken, falling onto shards of glass. He had to pay. The snow fell hard, the roads were slick. Lee Trak managed to run a ways before slipping by the roadside, crying out in pain. When he saw a figure approaching, hope lit his face, until he recognized me. His color drained. I pulled the pliers from my pocket and aimed at his index finger, smiling coldly. What's the matter? Isn't this the very thing you memorized each night for your thrill? Tonight you can feel it firsthand, doesn't it feel better? He took a sharp breath of cold air and begged with a trembling voice. I was wrong, please spare me. I'll hold a ritual to send her soul away. I swear. I pinched his finger between the jaws of the pliers and smiled icily. Too late. Bored with torment, I hoisted his neck and threw him into the valley of mirrors. Hundreds of panes reflected the same twisted face back at him, neither fully human nor ghost. Like your videos? Watch this. Then, after I dealt with Lee Trak, a weight lifted from me. There was no time to savor his dying rides. 2 more vermin waited inside the house. I stretched, glided back toward the manor, leapt through the bedroom window, and shifted into human shape. The room was pitch black though I'd left the lights on. A shadow slid behind me and hot breath fanned my neck, hands gripped my limbs. I've waited a long time. Baby, seeing Trong Hua treat you badly tonight, how could I stand it? Come be with me instead, I promise I'll obey you 100%. I tore free and flipped on the light. It was Lu Duang, slicking his hair back, grinning as if he'd already won. I'm no worse than Trong Hua, he crowed. I looked at him and laughed softly. Who was better? Who was worse? The 3 of them had grown up together. 3 years ago they followed Lee Trak because he had money. Now they follow Trong Hua because he's richer. And now Lu Duang suddenly declared he loved me. People like him only kneel before the powerful. I looped an arm around his neck and whispered, tell me, what is it you like about me? You're beautiful, gentle, and... His words died in his throat. He stared as downy fur spread across my cheek and a rip of skin split my mouth to ear. The last soul had merged. I no longer needed to act. I revealed my true form and grinned like a thing from a nightmare. Do you still think I'm beautiful now? He stammered, shaking. I didn't hurt you. Please. You didn't, really? After that died. Her parents could not accept that she had fallen by her own hand. They knew me. A cat that has a home does not simply run away. They hired detectives to search. Hearing that, Lu Duang pretended to be a sleuth, convinced the elderly couple that he would find the killer, and took their life savings. He spent it on feasts with Trong Hua and Lee Trak. Drunk, Lee Trak then called the old man on Lu Duang's phone and branded him a fraud. The shock sent that's father into a fatal stroke. Her mother dropped to her knees begging for the money back to save her husband. Lu Duang only smiled coldly. The money's gone. Even now, her father lies bedridden. I licked my lips, eyes narrowing. You didn't hurt me? I tilted my head, voice soft as a breeze. Then let me show you what it means to be hurt. The old couple could hardly afford a meal with meat, every day. The old woman went out to weed the vineyard just to earn enough for her husband's medicine. Ever felt a stroke before? I asked softly. My hand tightened around Lu Duang's throat until his feet lifted off the ground. He thrashed helplessly, his face draining of color within minutes. I smiled. That's what a stroke feels like. Don't worry, I'm not killing you, yet. Tell me, how do you want to die? I'll grant your wish. Fear, pain, despair, everything they had suffered, I made him taste it all. His screams ripped through the villa, sharp enough to make my head ache. But I restrained myself, resisting the urge to cut out his tongue. Hours later, the door burst open with a loud bang. What the hell's going on here? Can't people sleep? Trong Hua barked, kicking the door in. I patted Lu Duang's blood-soaked face, smiling sweetly. Only a few cuts and already screaming this loud? Oh right, the louder the better. Saves me the trouble of calling you husband. Then I turned to him and let a slow, ghostly smile bloom. His face went pale as he spun to flee, but I appeared before him in a blur. What's wrong, dear? Don't you recognize me? 8 faces flickered across my features, each one a different woman, until they all merged into the face of that. I laughed, and bloody tears streamed from my eyes. Trong Hua trembled violently, retreating into the corner. Don't come any closer, please go away. He screamed himself hoarse while I kept advancing, just as he once had when he cornered that with that same feral grin. Let's play a little game, I murmured. Only one of you gets to live. Whoever survives, I'll let go. I tossed each of them a knife. The light flickered, their shadows warped on the wall. Furniture crashed, glass shattered. Finally, Trong Hua's eyes turned red. He dodged Lu Duang's lunge and drove his knife straight into the other man's chest. Blood spread in a dark pool. Panting, Trong Hua crawled toward me. I won. You said the winner gets to live. I blinked slowly. And? Why, you said. I smiled. Humans keep promises, not demons. He bolted for the door, twisting the handle again and again. But it wouldn't budge. No, you can't. You said. Can't break promises? I whispered. Funny, where do you think I learned that? I let my human mask fade, fur and claws emerging, and seized his ankle. A swift twist. Tendon snapped. His scream shattered the night. Scream all you want, I said coldly. No one's coming. This place is ours alone. I dragged him to the kitchen. You love torturing cats, right? Let's see, the kitchen knife. The microwave, or the oil first? The oil, it would sound lovely. Hissing and popping. I leaned close, pried his mouth open to pour it in, but he shrieked. Wait, don't kill me, I'll tell you a secret. I loosened my grip. Speak. He cowered toward the cabinet, whispering, come closer, I don't want them to hear. I bent down, and a puff of blue powder hit my face. He burst into manic laughter. Before he died, Lee Track gave me this. Orchid dust. Cats hate it. You'll rot and die. A second later, his voice choked off. Nothing stood before him, yet his mouth split wide open, and a strangled gurgle clawed from his throat. My tone was ice. There are cameras in this house. The incense ash in that corner? I replaced it long ago. Yes, demons fear sacred ash. But what he threw was something else entirely. Corpse-soaked ash. Bait for vengeful spirits. His laughter had summoned them. And the little ghosts tore his tongue apart, because the sound was just too ugly. I waved them away gently. Leave him to me. When Trong Hua was barely breathing, I dragged him to the flower room. It's always spring here, spiders, roaches, maggots, plenty of company. You won't be lonely. I shut the door, watching the swarm crawl over him, gnawing until he went still. The lines on my hands glowed faintly. Wind brushed against my face. My vengeance was complete, and the resentment inside me began to fade. I took human form again, the shape of that. For 3 years, I'd practiced her smile every night. Terrified I might forget. Terrified I wouldn't look enough like her when I went to see her parents. They deserved peace. When I arrived at their home, it was small but warm, spotless. That. The clatter of dishes behind me, then arms wrapped tight around me. The familiar scent of laundry soap filling my nose. Her hair was now silver, but her eyes shone. Are you hungry? Let me cook. I nodded, mimicking old habits. Sweet and sour ribs, braised pork, and eggs with tomatoes. While she cooked, I wandered the house. For all its comfort, I knew the cost, on their savings. It should have been impossible. A door creaked open. A man stood frozen in the doorway. Laptop bag slipping from his grasp. Lam Heen Jia. That's fiancé. He was thinner now, streaks of gray at his temples. He hugged me gently, then stepped back, voice hoarse. I saw that cremated with my own eyes. The dead don't come back. I don't know who you are, or why you're here, but you're not her. I nodded and told him the truth, that I had once been her cat. Slowly, his disbelief softened into sorrowful acceptance. Her father's paralyzed, her mother's mind fading. He said, I'll stay and care for them, for the rest of their lives. Thank you, Mew Mew, for coming back. I looked at the old man lying motionless and smiled faintly. Then I should go find her. The next day, under his protection, I passed my remaining life force into that's father, energy to quicken flesh and heal. Within a month, he would stand again. When it was done, I told her mother I would be traveling far away. I climbed to the rooftop. My chi was spent, my body turned translucent, limbs dissolving into mist. I smiled, a smile I hadn't worn in years. Meow, meow, master, at last, I can come find you. I died in winter, as that had. The snow fell slow, quiet, blanketing the world below, and carried the scattered souls home to one another. Somewhere beyond, she and I would meet again.